I'm Susie Ward. I work for Hyde Housing, and this is Hyde's Retrofit and Replicate house. This house has been refurbished extensively to reduce its carbon emissions by up to 80%, with a view to feeding into our asset management programme in deciding how we can make the rest of our housing stock energy efficient. The thing that's had the biggest impact in this house in its energy efficiency and its carbon emissions is the insulation package. It's been a real mixture. Under the floors we have used a breather membrane that goes over and in between the joists, and to snugly fit in between the joists we've used 100 mils of phenolic foam board, which has been cut really snugly. The breather membrane from under the floor then wraps up and meets the wall insulation on these front external walls. We topped up the cavity wall insulation that was already here. We've used 80 mils of phenolic foam board again, and on top of that is placed insulated dry lining plasterboard. So we have lost some of the footprint of the room just on this front wall here. We have also insulated the reveals. These windows are from Norway. They're triple glazed argon filled windows. They also have, in the frame here, the timber frame, they have an insulated core, which means that there is no gap in the insulation from the windows to the frame and to the walls. So the overall package for the walls has now, it's about 10 times better insulation wise than it was before. And the whole insulation package for the house actually reduced its carbon emissions by 27%. It was the biggest thing that we did. On the rear extension at the back of the property, which was brick built and built probably around the 1980s, where we had the space to do it outside, we insulated externally so that we didn't have to lose any of the space inside. We've used 100 mils of phenolic foam again on the outside, and then that's been rendered over with external cladding. And for the roof, we've used rigid polyurethane boards, about 220 mils on top, so we have raised the roof level of the extension. On the back of the house here you can actually see two sorts of panels. We've got the photovoltaic solar panels, which are on top of the flat roof extension facing south, and on top of the pitched roof there you can see one of the solar thermal panels that supplies the hot water to the house. Because we didn't have a south facing orientation on the pitched roof, what we've actually used are dual panels. So on the other side of the house there is another panel exactly the same, so one facing east, one facing west, and they automatically pick up where the sun is. In the morning they'll pick up the sun and draw from the east panel, and in the evening or in the afternoon, second part of the day, they pick up from the west panel, automatically switches round as the sun tracks round. The photovoltaic solar panels that are on the flat roof extension will provide some of the electricity for the house. They're pitched at only a 5-degree angle, which is not as high as you would ordinarily expect, but having already raised the roof on the extension, it's had an impact on next door's garden, so rather than impact on them greatly, we've kept it at a 5-degree pitch, and we expect only around a 6% drop in efficiency because of that. We need to ensure that the house is well ventilated, but rather than just bringing cold air in from outside, which would negate some of the heating effects of the house, we've got a mechanical ventilation unit installed in the roof space which has heat recovery. It takes the hot, moist air from the bathrooms and from the kitchen. It expels the stale, moist air, but it retains the heat. It then brings in cold, fresh air from outside, warms it up and distributes it across the whole house. So you've got a continual flow of warm, fresh air coming in. Up in the loft space here we've got the mechanical ventilation heat recovery unit. You can also see the sun pipe that provides light into the landing and the hot water cylinder. In addition to this, we've got quite extensive insulation up here, including 170 mils of polyurethane boards placed on top of the ceiling joists and multifoil breathable membrane in the rafters. In the landing here, which is the one place in the house that doesn't have any natural light, we've installed a sun pipe which has a reflective tube coming down from the roof through the loft space and into the landing to provide natural light, so you don't need to use artificial lighting as much. Across the entire house we've used LED lighting rather than compact fluorescents. Each LED light uses about 3.7 watts, which is half as much as a compact fluorescent traditionally. They also last for about 50,000 hours, which equates to about 20 years. which is twice as good as a compact fluorescent. So with this fantastic package of high-level insulation on the walls and in the loft space and under the floors, and with efficient space and water heating systems and innovative lighting solutions, as well as the PV on the back, we've managed to achieve carbon reductions of 80%. And in addition to this, on the new energy performance certificates, this house achieves an A rating, which is almost unheard of, even in new properties. The monitoring over the next 2 years will confirm which parts of this property work well and if they work as expected, and that will help us decide what we do with the rest of our housing stock in the future.
More details are available on the website www.s-ea.org.uk. This house is part of the Old Home SuperHome group of houses which have all saved at least 60% of their carbon.